Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I am doing the Spring Has Sprung book tag. I was tagged by Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, so thank you very much for tagging me. I'm really excited about this one because spring is my favorite season. I love the feeling of potential that you just feel in spring. So I will link Jean's video down below and the original tag video as well, but let's get into the questions. The first question is, flowers, all the flowers we remember are blooming again. Pick a book that's a fresh take on a retelling. For this, I have a series, which is the Princess series by Jim C. Hines. Now, this is one that I've read a very long time ago, so I can't totally remember how good it is, but I remember thinking it's very funny. So the first book in this series is The Stepsister Scheme. The second is Mermaid's Madness. The third is Red Hood's Revenge, and the third is The Snow Queen's Shadow. And so this series follows Cinderella, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty, I think, that you can see on the cover here. And they work for the queen and are kind of like her spies. It's kind of described as like Charlie's Angels meets like Disney princesses. So it's not exactly a retelling of a specific fairy tale, but it pulls in all of these fairy tale characters and they go on these new adventures. And as I said, it's been a while since I've read this, but I do remember really enjoying it and thinking it was very funny, and it's not quite like anything else that I've read, or it's not quite like any other interpretation of these characters that I've read before. So I did really enjoy this one, and I should probably reread it because I read it so long ago, and it's another one that I kind of want to revisit to find out if I still like it. But I do remember really enjoying it when I first read it because it's just sort of a different take on these fairy tale characters. The next question is Cadbury Mini Eggs, obviously the superior springtime candy of choice. Pick a book that you consider to be a sweet treat. And actually, I'm not sure if I've ever even had Cadbury Mini Eggs, but for a book that is a sweet treat, I was looking through a lot of my fantasy books and realizing that there aren't a lot that I would consider like a sweet treat, because fantasy books a lot of times are a lot darker than that. But a contemporary I can pick is Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, which of course everybody knows about, but I have only recently started reading like contemporary books and YA contemporary, so it was new to me. I read it last year and it is adorable. It's just like so sweet and wholesome. Question 3 is allergies. Seasonal allergies often make your eyes water. Pick a book that made you cry. And for this one, I'm going to pick another very popular book, popular series, which is the Hunger Games series. This one is Catching Fire, the second book in the trilogy, because I just recently reread the whole trilogy. Rereading this series, this one hit me the hardest this time, and usually it is my least favorite in the series, but this time I really liked it. I listened to the audiobook and I was listening to it on the train commuting home from work, and just like sitting on the train like tearing up listening to this. So, you know, I need to stop listening to books that make me cry on the train because people think I'm real weird. But this one did definitely make me cry. This series never fails to make me cry. Question 4 is spring cleaning. Out with the old and in with the new. Pick a book to unhaul. And for this, I'm going to be unhauling The Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rossner. This is a book that was on my list of most disappointing reads of 2018. Part of that is because I had very high expectations for it. I was very excited because it is a retelling of the Goblin Market, but it follows Jewish characters in a Ukrainian shtetl, and I have been looking for Jewish rep in fantasy books, so this seemed like it was perfect. It was own voices rep for Jewish characters, and it just really did not deliver, and it even did some things that I really disliked. So gonna unhaul this one. Don't need this in my life. Question 5 is spring break. It's the perfect time for an adventure. Pick a book involving a road trip. So I had a little bit of a hard time with this one because I don't have a lot of books with road trips in them, partially because I read mostly high fantasy, so there's not a lot of like road trips in that, but also because I don't really like a lot of traveling in books. I prefer fantasy that kind of stays in one place and then has a lot of other like character stuff or plot going on, but like the traveling is not really a major part of the story. But I decided instead of saying road trip, we'll go with like just like traveling and like questing, because fantasy definitely has questing, which essentially is like a road trip, but like maybe with more of a purpose, you know? Anyways, so the one that I'm going for with this is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is the third book in the Farseer trilogy, and this one has a lot of traveling in it, a lot of questing around, traveling around, going in the wrong direction, and then having to turn around and go somewhere else. And this book was okay. I really thought that it needed less traveling. There was too much just traveling around and like narrating all the different scenery they were seeing. It's a lot of traveling, so this one I would say counts. Question 6 is mating season. It's that time of year in the animal kingdom to make some babies. Pick a book with some smutty delights. And I had a bit of a hard time with this one too, because I don't read a ton of books that I would consider books with smutty. I have a lot of books that obviously have romance in them and some of that stuff, but like, I don't know, I don't have a lot of books to pull from for this, but I decided to go with Moon Called by Patricia Briggs, or maybe not this one specifically, but kind of this series, the Mercy Thompson series. This is a urban fantasy that follows Mercy Thompson, who is a shapeshifter. She is able to change into a coyote, and she lives next to a werewolf pack. And there is definitely, I guess, smutty delights in this. I like, that phrase is just like really funny to me. It's not like a huge part of the story, but this is probably the closest thing I have on my shelves for this question. Question 7 is rainbows. I just feel like spring is made of freaking rainbows. Pick a book featuring an LGBTQ plus character or characters. And for this, I'm going to pick a book that is like a recent favorite, which is The Binding by Bridget Collins. I read this in February and loved it. It's so good. I did a review, so if you want to see that, I will link it below. But this book is so good, but a lot of it there is a male-male romance in it, and that is a prominent part of the story. It is not Own Voices rep for the male-male romance, but this book is just so good and I loved it so much. But yeah, this is one of my favorite, this is probably my favorite book that I've read so far this year. Question 8 is Spring Awakening. This is one of my all-time favorite musicals, even though it's filled with completely dysfunctional characters. Pick a book that's also filled with completely dysfunctional characters. And for this, I'm going to pick Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This book is definitely full of dysfunctional characters. There is a group of friends who are all, you know, they're doing their best to take care of each other in their own ways, in the only ways they know how, which are very often, yeah, dysfunctional. So, but I loved this. This is one of my favorite books that I read last year. And question 9 is In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Pick a book series that didn't get better as it progressed. And for this, can we guess which book or series I'm going to pick for this? Because I was real mad about the ending of this series, because it is The Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. This series, I was just, oh my god. The first book was fine. It wasn't amazing, but it was okay. The second book was really, really good. I really liked it. And then this third book was really bad. And I was like, by the end of this book, I hated the ending, and I was like actually angry at this book. I wasn't just like, oh, I didn't like the ending. Like, I was angry about this. So I have a review for this as well that I will also link below if you would like to see a rant review, where I'm just like complaining about this book a lot. But this series really went, like, it kind of was like fine, and then it got good, and then it really got bad, and it did not improve over time. So that is all for the Spring Has Sprung book tag. If you would like to do this tag, please do. You can always say that I tagged you. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.